Oh no, Wi-Fi is on. Yeah. What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? YouTube. What's up? YouTube. Um, I am getting straight to work. Gonna keep the chatting to a minimum. I'm doing an amplifier. Oh, hold on. Let me make a proper intro. So if you have a Honda Civic 2006 to 2011, the two connectors at your amp look like this. Metro sells an amp bypass. We sell a plug and play amp. So if you want to install your own amp, we sell the bypass as well. You can buy it from us. You get it from Metro, however you want to do it. Um, but we will sell a plug and play amp. It's a 5-channel amp. It will keep all your speakers. You need to have either a factory radio or an aftermarket radio installed. If you go aftermarket radio, you need to make sure that you use the harness that we sell or the one that Scotia sells that uses RCAs. If you use the Metro harness, it will not work correctly. You can go aftermarket radio and run RCAs. It's almost always necessary to run RCAs when you want to have individual control of the sub. What I mean by run RCAs, these connections, those wires that look like this. These are 90 degrees, but they're normally the other way, fully straight. You can run those from the radio to the amp. The amp is located either under the seat if you have a sedan or under the center console if you have a coupe. Getting to the coupe one is very annoying. A lot of disassembly. The sedan is super easy to upgrade that amp. So let's get started. Let's make it. First things first, we need to. Hold on, I'm gonna throw myself in this corner because actually up here. That's gonna be less. No. Either way, I'm in the way. All right, I shrink my ass. I throw myself up there. So what I have right here are the harnesses for the amp. That's these three. These are this four. These are the two harnesses that we offer. Um, so first things first is this has separate tweeters and woofers, and also we don't have two subs in the Civic. We only have one set of subs. So I'm gonna go on the computer and find the pinout. We actually have the pinout on our website, so I'm just going to pull it up from our website. So I'm going to go to our website, shop harnesses, actually shop amplifiers, amplifier bypass, and then in here I'm going to look for the one. So this is for a TSX. I'm going to look for the one that has a similar picture, but it says Honda Civic. So here we go, Honda Civic. So you can make your own plug and play amp with this, but really what I came here for is for this pinout. Here's a picture of the coupe amplifier. But here's the pinout that I need. So in my case, I want to know that pin 5 has a sub. What's up? What's up? Pin 5 says it has subs, but then they go away because pin. Hold on, where's my little tool? Here we go. So if we're looking at this, and then we're going to go back to that. Right? So then that's telling us that pin 5 has sub, but pin 6 does not. So that means that pin 5 would go from 1, 2, tweeter, woofer, tweeter, sub, and then this isn't there. This has no rear left sub or sub L. As you see, this label says sub L. So in your Civic, I always have to remove this pin. Sometimes you'll get the harness without it removed, and if you hook it up, it's not the end of the world. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But if you do hook it up, it leads nowhere. So I just take it out when we do the plug and play amp. Just, I don't know, just do it. There's nothing there, I take it out. All right, so now I need to combine my tweeters with my woofers. So that's something that's important. Let me switch my camera real quick. I need to move that button. Okay, and let me just do myself. So your Honda Civic, the tweeters and the door woofers have separate lines going to them. It's called an active system. So the 5-channel amp is going to treat them like they're both one speaker and send the same signal to them. So what that means is that your tweeter might blow or your tweeter might get damaged if you do not change the speakers or put some sort of bass blocker on it. It's not going to have a bass blocker from the factory. So that's something that you need to keep in mind if you're going to do this plug and play amp. It's like a common setup that Acura uses. So for us, what that means is that we're going to combine our woofer and tweeter lines. So you see this says front right tweeter, and this says front right. So this means this is the door speaker, this is the tweeter. We're going to strip both wires and twist them together because they're going to get the same power. They're going to get They're both going to be powered by the same output channel on the amp, which is channel 1. Okay, then we got, that was both positives. Now we're doing both negatives. What's up, YouTube? Sorry I started later than I said I was going to start, but the night streams are hard to have a consistent schedule because with the baby you don't know how she has a schedule too, but they don't always stick to their schedule, and if things come up you can't always be 100%. And it's not like I'm just gonna randomly leave her to come stream. You feel me? Like, I like streaming, but it's not more important than my kid. So yeah, that's just how it goes. Guys gotta wait, unfortunately. But hey, I'm here, and if you have a question, feel free to ask. I'm gonna do some of the harnesses that people ask me to do on stream. I have those lined up after this amp. I just need to get this amp done. All right, so these are the only ones we have to twist together. All the other ones are single connections, meaning there's only one set of greens that we're going to color match. There's only one set of purples that we're going to color match. So take that, take that, take that, take that, and then sub. So I'm actually going to start with the sub. Let me just go get some heat shrink. Actually, I have some in front of me too. If you're wondering why I'm sliding the labels down, so that when I add the heat shrink and then I shrink the labels, I don't burn them. You'll see what I'm talking about in a second. Let me cut this stuff. I need a bunch of this today. Come on. There you go. Okay. So I need 10 of these. So that's 1, that's 2, 3, that goes 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let me zoom that out because all you see me is looking down. Okay, 8, 9, 10. Nice. I got all 10. All right, so I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to start with the sub. So that's this wire right here. The way this works is gray, black is negative, and gray is positive. This is a very weird setup because these wires are then purple. So these wires are the only ones that aren't going to color match. But that's just how it goes. So if you're following this along, you want to do this at home. You bought the bypass and then you bought the amp. Gray, black goes to purple, black, labeled sub R negative. Gray, black to that. This is the gray, black on the single little plug. Okay. All right. So that's done. Now we move on to our 4 sets of wires. And these are just going to color match white to white, gray to gray, black to black. I mean, green to green, purple to purple. But we need to add our sleeves first to make sure I don't forget them. And then lastly, these. Okay, then I can start twisting the colors together to make my connections. So we'll start with my whites. Let me just swoop that out of the way. Okay, so we'll start with the whites here. So this is, if you're following this at home, you find this video later on, you'll see that we had two white blacks going to one white black, and that's totally normal. I'm actually just going to strip these to make putting them together easier. That's how it should be. And then the same thing with the grays. Hold on, I'm just pre-stripping these so I can just focus on twisting. These are already stripped, but they're only stripped a little bit, so it makes them harder to twist together when you have a little bit of wire or copper strands, or I don't know, these, I think these are tin copper or CCA wiring. No, I think they are copper, just tin copper. But anyways, white black to white black. So it's 2 to 1 here. Again, perfectly normal. People get confused here. They think, oh, like I should only be twisting one wire to one wire. And that's not the case. At least not always the case. It's good practice to follow that, but that's not always the case. So now we're going to do the grays. Gray black to gray black. And then gray to gray. Okay. Then we got purple black to purple black and purple to purple. This is purple black over here though. Right? Yep, purple black to purple black. Felt like I had a bug on me. That was weird. Purple to purple. Right, down. That was that one. We got green black to green black. That's green black. Green black. And then green to green. All right, cool. Then we can also connect these yellow to yellow, black to black, and red to yellow. These wires are very thin, but they don't run very long, so it's all right. That's the thickest wire that can fit in that terminal properly, but I will show you the big difference in wire thickness. So this is probably 18 gauge wire, and this is 12 gauge wire is what it says on it. 12 or 14 gauge. Hold on one sec. It's written on here. This is 12 gauge. So you're going from 12 gauge wire, which is pretty thick, down to, I would say, 18 gauge, maybe 16 gauge wire. But that's just how it goes right here. Like when you look at the strands, it's maybe double the strands. But again, that's just how it goes. You just twist it together. It will work. I understand the wire's thicker here, but factory wire is about this thick. It can support this current or this amperage. You don't have to worry about any of that. It's been tested, proven time and time again that it will work and be fine. Just the wire difference is a little unsettling if you're doing this at home. Like, wow, this wire is so much thicker. Come on. All right, then you cut a sleeve for the blue. So that's good right there. Where's my blue wire? This is the remote turn on. So we're going to strip that as well. And there's a big difference here as well, but this carries such low current that it doesn't matter. So this wire is more like a 20, you know what, I would say this is 20 gauge. Or 8. This is 18 gauge, and this is probably 14 gauge or 16 gauge. And this is probably 18 gauge, and this is probably, they're pretty close. 12? No, 12 was that. So this is 14 then. So this is probably 16. No, these are the same. No. But this is probably 16. This is probably 14 gauge wire. This is 18 gauge wire. But remote carries such a low amount of amperage, is less than an amp usually, that this could be like 26 gauge wire and it would be perfectly fine for the amount of amperage it's going to carry. But when it comes to wiring and sizing, it's the connectors that determine that. So like, look, these terminals are all pretty big, and it's to accommodate bigger wiring. But when we have to put a smaller wire in it, you can't go with a 20 gauge wire because it's not going to crimp correctly in this terminal. So the smallest you can choose is probably this 14 gauge. Um, so sometimes, a lot of times, wire or the actual copper is chosen by the current that it needs to carry. But there are little exceptions where like they oversize the wire because of the terminals, or they undersize the wire because of the connector and the short run that it has to make. Engineers know what they're doing with wiring, so I'm not gonna second guess them. All right, so now all these are twisted together. We can now hit all this with solder at one time, make it real easy and simple for ourselves. Our solder is ready also. Let's just tin our tip. All right, cool. And then we'll start with the blue. Okay. Now let's do the red and the black. I didn't lose my mic? No, okay. I hate when that happens. Also, I think I turned the AC off. It's getting hot in here. I'm getting sweaty. Or like clammy. Alright. So then come on, move over a little. Okay. Alright, so now all that has the solder applied. Now we can start sliding our heat shrink over the solder joints and applying our heat. And that's really it for this amp, guys. I made there's a couple, there are like RCA connections I have to make, but those are pretty straightforward. But this is the big wiring part. Um, this is the part that's going to make things the toughest for some people. Is how the hell does it get wired together? You saw me. I did a step by step in real time. You can follow it. Some steps might be a little faster than what you're used to, but you can either slow down the video or just rewatch. What I do is I just pause it. Like when I'm following a DIY and I'm all right, he lost me, I'll just go back and then I'll pause it, watch it, go back, rewatch, and then I'm okay, I think I got it. And then I'll just pause it as I'm doing still to verify that I'm not forgetting anything. So now with my heat gun, I'm applying heat. That's really bright. What the hell is that? That was weird. Sorry, looking at the cameras outside. So now I'm applying heat to the heat shrink to let it shrink around the insulation and the solder joints or the exposed copper. You can do this with a lighter as well, but you'll burn the wire. This is the best way to do it with a heat gun. I guess you could use a hair dryer as well. Pretty much works the same. I don't know how hot this thing gets. It just has 1 and 2. But it gets pretty hot. It does hurt your hand if you try to just withstand it. But yeah, I'm not sure what temperature the heat shrink also shrinks at. So use a lighter or a hair dryer, or you could buy a heat gun. They're pretty cheap on Amazon. Harbor Freight sells them as well. They're pretty cheap there. If you try to get one from like Home Depot or Lowe's, though, they do sell them more expensive. All right, cool. So now our wire harness is complete. We just got to start zip tying it to make it look better. So Let me get my zip ties together here. They finally came in because I had run out. What time is it? Okay, not bad, not bad. Okay, so I'll add this right here. The zip ties are just to make the actual harness look complete and to make sure that none of the, like if I sent it loose to you like this during installation, one of these wires could get grabbed by something. By bunching them together, they're less likely to get grabbed by something. I would tape them, but sometimes people have issues and they need to troubleshoot and like to figure out if it is their system, their radio, or the amplifier. These wires need to be accessible, and this product is new enough where I don't feel confident just taping it yet. Like the Acura Teal amp, I could tape no problem. I just choose to zip tie. I like the zip tie look better over the tape, but this I wouldn't feel comfortable taping it because I don't know the quirks. The Honda Civic is such a wide platform of people who own it and what they install that I can't say for sure this will work 100%, no issues for anybody. So I send it ready to troubleshoot, and I'll show you that in two different ways that it's sent. That two different precautions that we take. So first is this zip tie. I make sure I zip tie it all the way, and the zip ties are so that you could easily like take the harness. You cut the zip ties, you can get to whatever wire you need to. If there was tape, it would be a little bit more annoying. Also, there are probe points here. If you have a probe, depending how technical the other person is that we're helping. So that's step one. Step two is that we use RCAs. So you'll see on our 5-channel plug-and-play amps, we have a dedicated harness, so we eliminate the need for these RCAs. These come with the amp. These are the RCAs. Something that will trip people up is they're not labeled in any way, but they do have these color codes. So white is front left, and you can see them here. You can see just a little bit of white, just a little gray. So front left, front right. Rear left is green, rear right is purple, and then sub 1 is brown, sub 2 is orange. And they're labeled on the side of the amp, so I'll show you that in a second. But first, I'm going to connect these. This is what I was saying. The factory radio and your aftermarket radio aren't going to have a dedicated subwoofer control. So they're going to get their sub signal from the front left and front right. The amplifier, I would say, is going to get the signal from there. So what that means is it's summing this, it's grabbing these. Okay, I'm talking in a circle, so let me gather my thoughts so I can properly explain this. Because there's a big caveat to this setup that you do need to keep in mind to make sure you understand how this is going to work if you decide to buy this. Okay. Okay, let me get the amp so I can make a quick little demonstration here, and it's very straightforward and clear and easy to understand. Let me just clean up these zip ties. These little solder balls. Hey, yo, did he just say? I don't need that. Sorry, I just cleaned my desk so I could give you a better demonstration, and then I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay. All right. Let me grab the amp. All right. Okay. Okay. All right. Sorry, just gonna clip this, so I want to make sure that it is staged correctly with the logo back there and everything. Let's go. I'm gonna put this down here so it looks even better. Let's go. That shit is crooked though, but whatever. All right, YouTube. So if you have a Honda Civic 2006 2011, you want to upgrade the amp. We have two amps that you can choose to upgrade: the 4-channel or the 5-channel. There's the 5-channel in front of me. The 4-channel will not keep your sub, so you're most likely interested in the 5-channel, which is going to keep your sub. This is the amp. I'm going to switch to that camera now. this is the amp right here. I'm going to move my camera, sorry. Okay. So this is the amp right here. The factory amp is about up to here. So it is a little bit bigger than the factory amp. The settings are here on the side. Hold on, let me take this out of here so that you can have proper view. Okay. So the settings are here on the side. This other side has the harnesses, and it has an indicator light for power, protect, and remote. Meaning if it's on or if it's off or if it's in protect mode. These settings are going to be set for you, but I am going to set them for you in real time. So one of the things I want to talk to you about is this 4-channel mode, 2-channel, 5-channel mode. When you have a Honda Civic with the premium sound system, you have a factory sub. That factory sub grabs the signal off the rear speakers to generate the sub. So what that means when you go after market is that there's no dedicated subwoofer output. You only have 4 channels of output from the factory radio and only 4 channels of output from your aftermarket radio if you use the factory lines. So that means that you have to run the amp in 4-channel mode, and it's going to grab the signal from the rear speakers. Now that's no problem. It makes it plug and play, super easy. But if your rear speakers start to distort, you start to hear distortion. Geez, I can't talk. From your rear speakers, that could affect your subwoofer depending what you're doing with your rear speakers. Like if you're bass boosting your rear speakers, it's going to bring your sub level up, but it's going to cause the rear speakers to add distortion. Normally you'll cross over your rear speakers around 80 hertz, but you can't do that within your radio because if you do that, you're going to kill the bass. So the recommended setup for this use case is we're going to put the amp in 4-channel mode. We're going to put the amp in 4-channel mode. You're going to leave your high pass, low pass filters on the radio off. You want it to be full range. The amp will take care of the crossover points with these switches I'm about to show you. But that's the thing. Then to control the sub level, you're going to run this because you're going to lose the ability. On the factory radio, you have the ability to raise the sub level. Really all it does is raise the bass on the rear output. But on this, raising the sub level within the factory radio might cause your rear speakers to sound a little funky. So if you don't, that's on the factory radio. If you don't have the factory radio, you have an aftermarket radio, and you mess with the subwoofer rating settings in the aftermarket radio, they'll do nothing. The subwoofer output is not hooked up by default. You would have to run RCAs from the amp to the back of the aftermarket radio to get the subwoofer settings within the aftermarket radio to actually do something to the amp, and you'd have to change to 5-channel mode. So back to what I was saying, you're in 4-channel mode. The subwoofer settings of your radio are going to do nothing for your subwoofer. So if you want to adjust the level on the fly, you're going to run the bass knob. Then here, this is going to come pre-tuned. I'm going to show you what that tune looks like. So we have a couple of different little dials here. First things first, we got to make sure we're in 4-channel mode, like we said. You want to turn on that bass boost. Normally, you don't want to turn on bass boost on this amp for your application. You do. Then our X overs are going to be on. So that says rear. That means at 80 hertz, there'll be a crossover point that won't play any bass for your rear speakers. 80 hertz crossover point won't play any bass for your front speakers. This is for your front door speakers, rear door speakers, or rear deck speakers on the coupe. And then remember, your tweeters too have the same signal. So you either want to change your front speakers, upgrade your tweeters, or put a bass blocker on them, or eventually you're going to blow them. That's just the nature of the game. You probably already have upgraded speakers. Then we're going to turn our levels. Our levels are going to be dependent on which radio you do have. If you have an aftermarket radio or the factory radio. On the factory radio, you are going to get up to 2 full volts. Your aftermarket radio starts usually with cheaper one around 2 volts, and then they go up to 4 volts. So you do need to adjust this depending on the radio. It's going to come pre-adjusted for you right around the middle, which is a safe point. That is right around 2 volts. So if you don't want to touch this, you don't have to, but just want you to know that's where it's tuned to. Your subwoofer is going to be just a little bit further than that. This subsonic is so that your subwoofer doesn't play the deepest bass around like 28 hertz, 30 hertz. On a free air environment on that rear deck, trying to hit that low might cause the subwoofer to damage itself. But the subsonic really doesn't do anything. It goes from 15 to 50, but when you turn it halfway, it only stops or starts stopping frequencies around 25 hertz. When you turn it max, it goes up to like 35 hertz, really. It doesn't ever really hit 50 hertz, but that's because of the slope. So technically it does, but the slope on it doesn't allow it to go harsh up to 50. So I leave that around halfway to protect your sub. Then your low pass filter, you do want to turn it so that it plays up to 100 hertz, and that's making it flat. So this is kind of what it will look like when it's done. Again, this is going to come pre-tuned for you, but I just wanted to show you that. Then the next piece is your harnesses. So we spoke about the whole limitation with the 4 channels of output, and they're covered here. So here's front right, here's front left, here's rear left, here's rear right. And again, there's no subwoofer output from the factory. This connector does not have pins to support a subwoofer out from the factory output. This amplifier does support subwoofer input. So if you wanted to run your aftermarket radio and run these RCAs, you could to have subwoofer control. That's what I was saying earlier. Your subwoofer RCAs from your aftermarket radio will plug into here. Most people aren't going to do that, so you're going to leave these capped off. And then if you ever disconnect this and you need to know where the connections are, down here, it tells you which pins are for which. So like if it would focus, you could see it says sub, front, rear, and they match up with this connector because that's where this connection goes. But I did cover earlier white, front left, green, rear left, purple, rear right, gray, front right, orange, and brown are subs. And that's how it's going to break down. Sorry, on this angle, it's hard to plug it in. But all right, so now you're going to plug that in. You're going to hear a click. This is going to plug into the car. Then you have 3 matching connectors on this end. They just are like Legos. This only going to fit one way. This one goes here. This one goes here. And this one goes here. Now you're going to be like, hey, I have one left over. Correct. You should. One left over is for the bass knob. That's this connection here. I'm not going to open this, but if you want to run the bass knob, that's where it would get connected. And then you just have to mount the amp. This power circuit and the power lines are more than enough to support this amplifier. And yeah, that's really it. That's the plug and play amp for your Honda Civic. The only issue you're going to have is actually installation of actually mounting this thing somewhere. If you do have some sort of noise, it can be the RCAs, it can be your radio, it can be the car. So reach out to us. We'll help you figure out which one it is. The easiest test is just if you have noise, unplug this harness and see if you still have noise. If you still have noise, there's something going on with your car. If you don't have noise when you unplug this, if you still have, all right. If you don't have noise when you unplug this, there's something going on. Okay. Sorry. All right. So if you install the amp and you have noise or weird hissing, some sort of noise, the first test is to disconnect this harness. If you disconnect this harness, the amp will stay on, the power light will stay on. You'll have no sound. You should have no sound. You should have no ringing. You should have no hissing. You should have no sound at all. If you still have sound and you still have hissing, you still have ringing, there's something going on either with the amplifier or your car. 9 out of 10 times it's going to be your car. The amplifier usually doesn't fail in that way or have that issue. If then you connect this back, but leave this disconnected is your next step. The issue is here somewhere. The RCAs could be bad. This harness could be bad. The terminal here could be bad. Once you plug it in, if that's the only time you get noise, then we need to work up the chain and see if your aftermarket radio is good or your factory radio is good, and then continue working up the chain to figure out where it is. But that's the most easy troubleshooting to do. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Yeah, we talked about mounting the amp. Mounting the amp can be difficult, not in the sedan, but in the coupe. Plug and play. Oh, power rating. So it does 80 by 4 at 2 ohms, 200 by 1 at 2 ohms. On your Civic, you're probably buying speakers that are 4 ohms, so it's going to do 40 by 4 at 4 ohms, and the woofer is going to be 1 by 100 at 4 ohms. So you really want to look for JBL or Infinity or other 2 ohm speakers to get the most out of the amp. The subwoofer, you do want that kicker sub or a 2 ohm final impedance sub. Do not go with a 1 ohm sub because you will blow this amp channel up. You will blow this amp up if you try to put a 1 ohm sub on the subwoofer output. So make sure you got a 2 ohm sub or a 4 ohm sub. And then that's really it. All the other stuff is plug and play. I'm now actually going to package this for a customer. He bought one. I think I have pictures of this already, so this video will just help as supplemental information. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. The only tricky thing is that RCA output thing that will confuse some. But again, the amp's coming ready for you to go. So even if you don't remember that step, didn't watch this video, it won't probably even affect you unless you're trying to do something very specific with the subwoofer. But all right, so pack this up. What's up? What's up, YouTube? Hope you're enjoying the show. Trying to stay on task and do the stuff I need to do. Yap less, but like, I mean, if I'm recording, it's because I need to make content to show people. So I can't just randomly sit here and not talk or not film the content that I need. So it's a little of both. But yeah, we're getting a lot of versatility out of this amp for different Hondas and Acuras. A lot of people look for plug and play options. They're okay if, you know, it doesn't have the most output in the world, as long as it is truly plug and play. And I find that we can make these plug and play for almost any car where you can bypass the amp completely. It's just a matter of getting the right connectors. The only thing is, like, we don't have first-hand installation. So, like, I have never put this in a Honda Civic myself. And that's a big limitation, because when people call for help, I don't know what the primary issue could be or what could be going on. I have to go through regular troubleshooting to know and take their word for what they're doing, if they're doing it right. All right, that's all set. Let's go get the box. And then let's look this guy up, make sure that I'm sending it to the right place. I just had it up, but I think I had it up on the other computer. Okay. Yep, Honda Civic. I bought my dog a sweater, and he looks kind of high class now. He looks like he thinks he's too good for this life. I'll show you guys in a second. He looks like a sophisticated man. Oh, nah. I'm about to look that username up. Hold on 1 sec. Just gotta put this in a box. All right, cool. Got that amp done. And then I did the other amp off stream. Oh, wait. I can't turn around because the whole, shebang over there. Hold on. I got something to look up real quick. What do you mean there's no... That's whack. That's the only place I can search, right? Excuse me, guys. Just 1 second. Was that Stripe or through PayPal? That was 2015. What the hell? 2020. Why would it show me messages from... like the oldest. All right, whatever. I'm not gonna look into that right now. That's cool, man. Sounds good. Did they fit or did you have to cut? I'm sorry, I had the wrong camera up. And you can't see my neck, but it is what it is. What was I about to do? Oh, I was gonna show you my dumb dog looking stupid as freak. His dumb little sweater. But it's because he gets cold. So look, he's a short-haired pit bull mix. So he gets cold when he goes to sleep, and he'll wake me up. I'll be dead asleep, and he'll come wake me up to wrap him in a cover. So I got him a sweater so that he would stop messing with me at night. Look at him trying to give me attitude because I put his sweater on. But yeah, he looks so funny. But all right, now we got to do some harnesses that people ask me to do on stream. So let me figure out which one of those we're going to do right now. I think Scott. I don't know if he's watching, but he could watch tomorrow morning. Okay, yeah. It's for a Honda Civic, baby. I don't know why the order number is not showing up today. It like, let me remove. And let me add one. Text. Order number. And then there you go. Bro, I don't get why my cap stopped working. 103892, baby. Alright, that's way too big. And also has no sort of outline, drop shadow. Okay. And then let me just shrink it the hell down because it's humongous. And then I'll throw it over here. All right, so that's the order number I'm working on right now. Let me move this keyboard out of the way. Move this out of the way. Let me go get that stuff. Had to record earlier. And then we got a gray. I should take this. And I'll take a gray. Okay. That's good, that's good, that's good. I need the master. I have the blue. I did not grab the antenna yet. Speaker forward, Jason. Oh, I got you. Yeah, that's what it takes, man. When you want big speakers like that, you gotta really be committed to cutting that door. All right, but if you have a Honda Civic, we're back on the Honda Civic wave tonight. If you have a Honda Civic and it has the premium sound system, which means that you have the factory sub, these are the 3 connections that we sell in the DIY combo if you want to install an aftermarket radio. We're the one of the few companies. I can't say we're the only company anymore because I'm pretty sure Scotia had it first, even though they don't say that it's for the Honda Civic, but it is. They say it's for other cars. I need a black. Hold on. Actually, I'm just going to use gray black in my use case because it's the same thing since I'm wiring it. Okay. All right. So DIY combo. Any DIY. All right. Any DIY. Jesus, man. I hate when I just start rambling. All right. Any DIY combo that we sell means that you're doing the wiring yourself. It means you're getting all the connectors. They're going to come with the right wires in the right place, but you have to finish the wiring to attach it to your aftermarket radio. 1, 2, 3. So that's what the DIY combos are. If you don't want to do any wiring at all, then what you're looking for is a plug and play harness, and the plug and play harness is what I'm about to make. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So DIY combo means you're doing it yourself. If you have a Honda Civic SI or EXL or EX with the premium sound system, it means you have the factory subwoofer in the back and you have a factory amplifier either underneath the seat or the middle console. These are the harnesses that you'll need. If yours doesn't have the premium sound system, this harness changes, but the rest stay the same. So now we're just going to make this wire harness. It's pretty quick, pretty easy. This is for a 2000 and I actually don't know what year his Civic was. I think he said 09. I think Dallas said it was a 2009. So 2009 Honda Civic. I'm going to show you the other plugs that go with this. All right. So these are these 3 plugs. Then we have the AXWC plug. If you're doing this with the AXWC yourself, you're going to use gray, red, black, red, and then the little headphone jack. And I'll show you what that's going to look like. Let me just prepare my harness here. Okay. So the AXWC wire harness is this little black plug, and it usually comes with a bunch of wires over here. I take all those wires out, and I only leave the wires I'm going to use, which leaves me with red, black, gray, red, and then these 2 little headphone jacks. So you're going to go gray to gray on our harness, black to black on our harness, red to red on our harness, and match it all together. I'm going to do it for you right now. 1 sec. So on this harness, you're either going to have a gray and a gray black, or a gray and then a black. Gray, black, and black are the same. They're ground. Gray is the steering wheel control output. This is your factory amplifier turn on. So this goes to the blue-white wire on your aftermarket radio. And then for the aftermarket radio, we're using a Sony. So this is the Sony plug. This is the same plug in all of the newer Sonys, from the AX3200 or the AX150 from eBay, or I'm sorry, from Walmart, all the way up to the AX8500 or the 9. Is there a 9000 or 8700? I forget what the highest model is, but they're all going to use the same plug with the same pinout, even if it doesn't have. Actually, no. If yours doesn't have a touchscreen, then this is different. It depends. How'd you get your XM to work? Did you just 1, 2, 3, 4? Yeah, depending on how you got your XM to work, I don't know if that might have a solution or not. You can feed. So the way I theoretically found that I think someone did do was they took the XM audio and they fed it into the tablet. And then since the tablet's feeding audio to the system always, you just change to the aux input, and then the audio flows out of the XM unit into the tablet and then back into the factory unit. So if you did it that way, then maybe the aux input is like glitching out or something. But all right, so back to what I was saying with the Sony harness. It's all the same if you have a touchscreen. If you don't have a touchscreen, the pinout is literally the same, but there's wires that aren't here. Most Sonys do not need the parking brake bypass. You just take the parking brake wire and attach it to ground. It's been like that for a while. Usually you can get into all the menus easily by just grounding the parking brake wire. You don't need a bypass. So that's what we're going to do. And now we're going to move forward to getting the AXWC harness ready. So remember, this had a couple wires, red, black, and gray. It could also be gray, black, but we're just going to treat it as that it's black. So this had blue, gray, and gray, black, like I was saying, or it could be black. So we're going to go gray, black, or it could be black, depending which one you get, to black. Then we have gray to gray. And then now we need to combine this harness, this one right here, with the red wire to it as well. So now our harnesses are starting to come together because we have to join the red wires. So remember, gray to gray, black to gray, black, or black. And now you have this plug still has a loose blue wire. We're going to connect it to the antenna wire. All right, cool. So now that just leaves me to join my blacks together. So I already joined two blacks together, but now I need to join it to my third black, which is right here. It's a very thin wire as well. So then that's going to go to right here. So if you're following along, you're doing this at home, following this as DIY, you should have three blacks together that are all twisted in a straight line like that. And then on the other side, you'll see on the Sony side, you'll have a black and a green twisted together, but then every other wire should be straight. So now I'm going to connect all the wires together. I'm just going to strip the ones that I'm actually going to need. You're going to have a purple white wire that I don't have if you have a Sony. My wire is pink. Yours is purple white, but they are labeled the same. It will say reverse in. And then this is the remote output. It does only have a very small amperage output. So that's more than enough to power the factory amp. But if your factory amp is failing, it could be shorting that wire, and then the 0.4 amps won't be enough. I've seen that happen where, like, hey, it turns on with the factory radio, but not with your harness. We meter the output, it's 12 volts, but it's not enough to turn on the factory amp. So then you have to change the factory amp to turn on with accessory. I'm not going to cover that in this video, but that's what you do. You change it over to accessory. I don't want to confuse people any more than I probably already have. So then after, come on, all these wires are prepared, now we can join them together. Before that though, I do need some heat shrink. This is like a material that wraps around the wire. When you apply heat, it shrinks down around the wire. So it just adds a barrier of protection for the connection to not short out with another connection. You can just use electrical tape. You can just use like crimp caps that you just crimp. But this is what I like to do because I like to solder all the wires together. So this just makes, after I solder, I just throw this over it and it's a simple, easy apply heat and it's done. Okay, so I'm just adding this sleeving or heat shrink to each connection. Okay. All right, so if you're following us step by step, you should have two blues together on this side and two reds together on this side and three blacks together on this side. So we're going to join our blues. It's two blues to one blue. And it's the same thing for the reds. It's two reds to one red. Then one yellow to one yellow, one orange to one orange. Come on. Okay. And then your blacks are going to be the hardest ones because you're going to have three blacks on one side and a black and a green on the other side. But you're just going to twitch them together like you did with the other wires. I like to fork it in two. So you can see it's forked like that. You see it split. And then I put this one in the middle of them. And then I twist together like that to make it easier. But you can just twist side by side. I just like the harness to be a straight line. So it's very easy for you to kind of comprehend that one side goes one way and the other side goes another way. They plug in at different ends ultimately. So now we're going to apply the solder to each of these joints, or I don't know what you call it, exposed wires, I guess. This is permanently joining them together. So if I try to if I try to pull them apart, it would take a lot of force. They wouldn't just come undone. I would literally have to break the wire in half. Still possible, it just requires a lot of force. So this is a good method for binding wires together. So now that I did that, I'm going to slide my heat shrink back over my exposed wire or exposed copper. And then I will add tape in a second. I will just, sorry, chat. I will get to your questions in a minute. I just want to make sure this video is very, has minimal things to edit for myself. So, okay. Now, those are all. If you're wondering what I'm doing, I'm just cutting that tip shorter. It's just a tip of wire. I didn't cut anything. It's just that tip. I made it shorter so it goes in the heat shrink further. And now I'm going to apply heat. So both these products work with one another. So you saw me do the amp before. The amp and this harness work together. And that's why I was telling you, when you install an aftermarket radio, you don't have the 5 or 6 RCA outputs. You only have 4. And that's because in the factory wiring, there's only 4 lines. That's why there's only 4 RCAs here. So if you wanted to run separate RCAs, you can. You just have to run them yourself. You couldn't use the factory wiring to run them for you. All right, now I'm going to share with you the biggest mistake I made with this harness, and it has nothing to do with the wiring. These RCAs aren't labeled from the factory, so I have to mark them up to make sure that they're the right ones for your car. So we're going to look at that next. They're the right ones for your car, so you know where they plug in. Let me finish this, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. So 1 second. So I'm going to just add some electrical tape to some areas of the harness to make it easier to tape up with Tessa tape or soft tape. The electrical tape is just to kind of organize. It really does nothing else for me because my electrical connections aren't exposed. But basically, I add electrical tape around the center here. And then I'm going to add Tessa tape all around the harness, but I am going to leave the wire that needs to be out, the reverse wire left out. These harnesses I've done enough times to know that this will have no issues. As long as the customer gave us the right radio information, he won't have to ever undo this tape. Or if he's adding subs, he might have to undo it to tap the blue wire. But that's very rare because if they are a customer of ours, they'll probably buy the amp bypass, and that will have the remote there, so you don't have to tap here. But if not, they can just undo this tape. I always end the tape at the OEM connections. So what I mean by that is at these connectors is where the tape will end. So you ever have to undo the tape for one of our harnesses, they're going to end at the connectors for the car. So they're going to end at the gray connectors. They're usually gray instead of ending over here. All right, and then I'm just going to zip tie this antenna so that it's not all loose and dangly. All right. So now I'm going to show you what I was talking about before. So these aren't labeled, so you won't know where to plug them in. So if I pull up, where's the keyboard? A Sony radio. We're going to go with an AX4000 because it's one of the newer ones. And probably the most, maybe one of the best sellers, range between the 4000 and the 6000. So this is one of the radios that this harness will work for. Oh, sorry, I put it in the wrong thing. Give me 1 second. Okay. So this is one of the radios that the harness will work for. This is the Sony radio. Here are the connectors on the back. So if you look, that plug is the plug that we have right here. That's what we'll plug into the back of the radio. They're always radio specific. Then here, where this blue ring is where this headphone jack plugs in. They have something in it already. That's if you're going to do resistive steering wheel controls, which your car has, but you have to manually tap and stuff. When you do the AXWC, this right here, this little headphone jack that I'm showing you on the camera, let me put it big. So this headphone jack right here, it's on the harness. Look, here's the harness hanging off right there. That headphone jack goes into this blue port that I have you showing you here right now, right into that blue port where this is plugged in. Then this other connector right here that I have in my hand, this one still part of the harness, goes to the AXWC. The newest version of the AXWC is going to look like this. So you're going to remove this from here, take out the box. There's going to be a harness in here, which you're not going to use. You're just going to take out the box. The box will plug right into our harness, literally just like that. Bam, plugged in. This, when you go to plug it into the car, you need to program it. It will program itself if you hold volume up on the steering wheel as soon as you turn on the car and you've made all the necessary connections. If you didn't make all the necessary connections, meaning you didn't plug this in or you didn't plug one of these in, it will not program correctly. You'll have to reset it. Look up how to reset AXWC. If not, it should auto program. When it does auto program, it's going to, as you hold volume up, flash red and green really fast. Eventually, it'll flash green a couple times, then it'll flash red a couple times, then it'll go solid red. When it goes solid red, that means your steering wheel controls should be programmed. You can now test your steering wheel controls. Your steering wheel controls do not respond. You will have to reset the module, and you can manually or automatically try to program again. There are instructions for the AXWC on their website, but it should just auto program. It's pretty straightforward. So now we're going to move on to the other connections. So then you have 4 RCAs that you need to connect. They're going to be right here. You're going to match them by label. I'm going to put the labels myself on these now, but you're going to match label by label. And then that's it. You still have to run your mic and you still have to run your antenna, but that's how you would make the connections to the 4000. Now I'm going to show you on the 3200 because the 3200 is still set up like the 150 and the lower end models. So on the lower end models, this is a 3200. The connections do change. So you see that we have the port for the steering wheel controls is lower. So the mic goes up there where they have it highlighted, but the steering wheel controls go on the bottom port. I can't tell you what color it is, but I can tell you that this writing right here should say remote and it has a little arrow pointed to it. So it goes on the bottom. That's where this little headphone jack would go. Then this plug is the same plug as here. So you would just plug that in. And then your RCAs are actually embedded on the back of the radio. And here you have 4 RCAs that these 4 RCAs would match up to, but your sub RCA is a single. That's a rear view camera in. This is a single subwoofer output. So that's how it works for this. For all of your Honda radios that don't have navigation, that have the premium system, if you do have navigation, we can also make you a harness. I have the connectors now. It's just not advertised this way. If you saw this stream or this video, just reach out. We'll make it for you. All right, this harness is pretty much done. I just have to label the outputs. And in order to do that, I do need to reference a radio diagram. I think we have one on our website, if I remember correctly. If I search DIY and then look for the Honda Civic combo, it is not there. Okay, let's go on Pro Demand. Let's go to login. Login. Sorry, guys. I'm going to get to your questions in 1 second, chat. Just let me finish this. 2009 Honda Civic 2.0 radio. So the Honda Civic platform is one of the ones that has the most different connectors in the world. Look at this. Look at this list of connector availables for this car, and they change dramatically depending on which one you have. So look, this has this type of plug, which is the one we're looking at. Can you even see that? Yeah, you can see that. This has this type of plug, the one we're looking at. If I keep scrolling down, you'll see that the plug will change to a 20-pin plug. And if I keep scrolling down, it actually even changes to the newer type of plug that the newer Hondas have. Let's see if it comes up for us. It might not come up under this configuration that I selected. That's the navigation one. This is the one I'm telling you about that has a different. Oh, that's the navigation unit though. Yeah, but that is a radio. That is a radio. Yeah. So that's what I was referring to. Okay, but ours navigation unit. We don't have navigation. Navigation unit. Navigation. We got a premium sound system. In dash CD changer. CD changer. CD changer. CD changer. CD changer. Aux. Auxiliary jack, auxiliary jack, auxiliary jack, auxiliary jack, auxiliary jack. This is manual transmission, accept navigation, manual transmission. Okay, for some reason, if you have a certain engine, there's going to be a difference. Audio unit, accept navigation connector in. Does this have preamp outputs? Audio remote switch is there, but it doesn't have the amp turn on, so that's not the one we want. This isn't even the same connector. Neither is that. Sorry guys, I'm just looking for the right connector. All right, let's go back all the way to the bottom. That's the navigation unit. Okay, here we go. Okay, so 4-door SI, you see pin 20. So this is the one we need to look at, 4-door SI. That means that on my harness, okay, that's that. So the far two are, where's my marker? And that goes to that top. Yeah, okay, far two. So if I'm looking at this correctly, 2 is rear left. And then right next to that is front left, okay? Then rear right and front right. Okay, so my labels are kind of lame, but it will help the person installing this know what they're doing. This is them right here. Literally, it just says it on the RCA jacks themselves. So you just are going to match these. It's kind of a little hard to read, but that is RL and this is FL. A little hard to read, but you'll get the point. If you do mess those up and you plug them into the wrong port on the back of the radio, all that's going to happen is that it's going to sound weird. So sometimes you might end up with a symptom where like your Bluetooth calls ring in the back because you have the backs to the front, or you may have like them crisscross. So then like certain songs when the drums are going off all over the edge, all over the place, they're going to sound weird. But they're labeled. You can kind of troubleshoot if that happens. And that's it. If not, you know what? I will take a picture of this diagram and I'm going to put it on my website because this is the one we need. Okay. All right. So that completes this harness. I need to box it up and ship it. In the meantime, I'll take a look at your questions real quick. So he said I had to cut the doors. I answered the XM guy, but he never got back to us on how he did it. For a second car amp power cable, do you recommend a fuse block or 2 separate fuse holders? Okay. Yeah, you could do, there's like a distribution block, which will make it real easy. So like 0 gauge coming in gives you 2 4 gauges with 2 separate fuses. I do see people that prefer 2 separate lines. I think you can split 0 gauge into 2 4 gauges, no problem. If you need 2 0 gauges though, then I would run 2 0 gauges. You could have 2 separate fuse holders wherever, it does not matter. What's up, guys? Is there any way to upgrade my 220 to get Apple CarPlay? Yes, sir, Jack. There is plenty of ways. You can get the Grom audio piece, the AliExpress piece. I think Nav TV has one. Those all add CarPlay to the factory radio. If you don't have navigation or what is called the tech package, then you can add CarPlay by upgrading the factory radio. The factory radio upgrade is plug and play. Super easy to install. The radio comes out pretty easy. You can keep all your speakers except the center channel. You can keep your steering wheel controls, your heater controls, all that stuff, pretty much plug and play. We have it available. If you want to do a double DIN in your tech package, you can also as well. We have the stuff for that. I could send you the video that explains it all, because if you have a tech package, installing an aftermarket radio is it's not very complex, but it's a lot more involved. All right, that's going to wrap up order 103892. And basically this whole Honda ecosystem for us. We have the radio harness. Oh, I ran out of tape. Are you kidding me? and the plug and play amp. We have the subwoofer. We have speakers. I'll show you the site for the Honda stuff. It's Honda Audio Garage. I don't really show it much. I have never even told anyone. This is maybe the second time I ever brought it up. But if we go to me and screen, and then up here, let me bring this down. I go to Honda Audio Garage. It's a very it's a very poorly designed website where there's not much here, but the stuff that is here is like verified working in these cars, not by us but by other customers, except for the Honda. No, all this stuff, all these speakers. I've installed speakers in Honda Accords before. I have not done the plug and play amp. I've done the subwoofer, but all that stuff here for your Honda is here. So if you need speakers, whatever for your Honda, if it's here, then we have it and you can buy it. But all right, let me finish boxing this. All right, this was Senor Scott. Where did I put the label, Senor Scott? Okay, then I'm going to be doing a radio, and that'll be the last thing I do before I hop off stream. So we got a Kenwood radio. Let me just put this back. All right, then I'm going to put this away, put this away, this. Okay. So like I was saying, we have a Kenwood radio we need to do. So here's the radio, one of our big popular sellers. Oh, you can't see. So here's the radio. We sell a lot of these. Very popular radio, very good radio. It's a DMX 4710. As you can see, we did a video on it, so you can get an idea from that video what it's going to take. I need to figure out who had the radio, though. Kane. Is that how I spell his name? No. Okay, it was not him. Frank. It was not him. Okay. That's the Boss Elite. Okay. So it had to be this guy. Yes, sir. He got it. Mother freaker. What year? Why did I think his was? Man. I can't text this guy now. It's 12 in the morning, bruh. I mean, I can make the harness either way. Has he ever ordered anything before? No, because it would have came up. Yeah, it would have came up when there's a name. Or is he in North Carolina? So I can't hit him up now. Damn, this makes this so much more difficult. Why did I think it was a 2008? This sucks, bro. Because I can't pre-wire the harness. Because if I pre-wire the harness, I could make it for both, but then it would just be really annoying, the amount of plugs. All right, let's do the Boss Elite radio. What was the Boss Elite radio for? What did he have? He had the 2007. Okay, that's where I got it from. All right, guys. So switch of plans. We're doing order 103911. 911. That is a complete radio kit for a 2007 Acura TL. This Boss radio won the world when it was COVID time. Man, I know COVID was 5 years ago, but some of the effects lasted well into, at least from the retail standpoint, like up till 2022 with when before Pioneer and the other brands really recovered. So Boss was killing the game. They still are killing the game. They added Sirius XM. They added wireless CarPlay. They now have a Maestro integration. I'm telling them, they're on the come up, bro. They're about to peak. So this is the newest version. The old one was the BE7ACP. This has the X, which means it's Sirius XM ready, which means it has a Sirius XM port now. It also comes with a power filter now. That was one of the issues people were experiencing on certain Acuras. 01 to 06 MDX. Usually people always with the Boss radios would say they had ringing or some sort of noise. And Boss would play it off and say it's like something with their car. But then why say it's something with their car and then later on add a power filter to your harnesses? Like, you know, like maybe it wasn't just the people's cars. Maybe there was something going on with your radio. But yeah, so the harness looks a little different now. I'll show it to you. So here it is. And we still get our microphone in here and then the regular brackets. And the radio looks just like it does on the box. I don't want to unbox it for you because I don't want this. These radios you can tell if you fully open them. I don't want that for the customer. I don't want him to think that I was like trying to G him or something. So why I didn't put this here, I put it over there. What the hell? So this is what the radio would look like. Power, home, volume up and down, Siri, and then USB-C in the front. This is rare. Boss still does this on a lot of their radios. Well, they'll have a front-mounted USB port. People like that. There are some people out there who want front-mounted, easy-to-access USB port. They don't want it around the back or tucked somewhere. They want to be able to plug in right away. This still offers that. So it's a lot of value here. Boss had, you know, still maybe has not the best reputation, but in the last 5 years, they really made a come up. And I don't know why they give you this. I don't think this has resistive programmable steering wheel controls. Let me look up the manual real quick. Maybe for outside the US, they just package them all the same, so they sell them all the same. But hold on, we're looking in the manual. So this would save you having to use the AXWC if this has resistive steering wheel controls built in. You could save some money. I want to go into, wow, even the owner's manual is clickable. That's nice. I want to go into audio settings, general settings, steering wheel control retention. Okay. Oh shit, what? This unit allows you to retain steering wheel controls via A, connection steering wheel interface, B, directly your steering wheel control if compatible with this. What? I'm learning something new, guys. That means that you can hardwire this thing to your steering wheel controls. When did they make this change? And then you can learn yourself. So basically, you can save yourself some money. You don't need the AXWC. You can hardwire this little connector here. I'll show you. You can hardwire this little connector right here to key 1 or SWC and then to ground, right? It has SWC and SWC ground. Yeah, that's lit. You can even keep your call controls because it has SWC too. This is pretty lit. I'm going to see if we can do a video with that because the Sony and the Alpine have that now, so you can save yourself some money. All right, we're going to start prepping this harness. We're going to remove the speaker wires we don't need. Our ported boxes are, oh, Jack, I answered your question, Jack. I don't know if you heard it. Unknown user, I answered your question. I don't know if you heard it or if you left. I was in the middle of something. And then Supriya Beat said, are ported woofer boxes safer woofers than sealed woofer boxes? That is a great question. I don't think I have the expertise to answer that question for sure. If I'm thinking out loud, a ported subwoofer box is meant to be louder at certain frequencies. That's what the port is for, so that whatever frequency the port is tuned for, it can be extra loud of a boost of, I actually don't know if it's 3 dB or more, but it's meant so that at a certain frequency, the port makes that frequency louder than the rest. A sealed enclosure doesn't have that, so all the frequencies play the same. But people say the bass is tighter. Um, I don't know why people say that. I am not the strongest subwoofer performance guy, so I can't really answer your question. If I'm trying to think though, um, I think it may not come up to the actual design of the box when it comes if it's ported or sealed, but the actual air volume of the box will affect the woofer more. So if the woofer, it's like saying it can't breathe. Like if the box is too small for the woofer, it will make inefficient use of the driver and kind of cause it to battle against itself with pressure and then eventually kill the speaker. So I guess a port could help in damaging it in that way. But again, I don't know. I don't know enough about subwoofers or subwoofer design or box design to say that. But I will tell you that if you put a sub in too small a box, you will choke the sub, and if you put a sub in an open environment, you will destroy the sub. Usually, subs do better in bigger boxes. There is a limit though. Like if you put an 8-inch in a freaking huge box, it's not going to sound right. But like if you put a 12 and it comes inside a prefab box, and you take that 12 and you put it in a bigger box, like almost double the volume, you usually get a lot more bass out of it just from upgrading the box. But again, I'm not the best sub guy, man. I'm sorry. I wish I had a direct answer for you. But I don't know that one for sure. Okay, but this is 0708, so we gotta take this out. Mira, 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 mira. Oh, excuse me. Right, YouTube. It's getting to be that time of the night. So if you have a question, ask me now. If not, save it for tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon, lunchtime, 1 o'clock. I'll be streaming every day, 1 o'clock, Monday through Saturday. I stream. The nights, I don't have a schedule yet. I'm trying to figure out the schedule. But yeah, if you have a question, feel free to ask. If not, I'll give you guys like 2-3 minutes. I'm going to get out of here. Well, I'm going to get offline. I still got work to do. Bro, that always freaks me out, bro. Is this guy working on his truck right now, or he just parked his truck there? Is he gonna sell it? One of my neighbors, he had his truck towed in, and there's another truck just like it in front of it. So I wonder if he's selling it. If he's selling it, I'd like to buy a little truck. Why didn't the light turn on? Bro, I don't want to trigger the alarm. I want the lights to turn on. Yeah, it's like a little red one. Yeah, I wonder if he's gonna sell the other one. I wonder if just the engine died or what happened. I want to buy a little truck. We don't got the money yet, but I will put the money together. All right, YouTube, I didn't hear any questions. So you guys have a good night. I know there is somewhat of a delay, but usually the delay is only about 30 seconds. So you guys have a good night. If you have a Honda Civic, this stream was for you. If you're watching this stream and you're like, hey, that's my order number, I didn't get to see it, I apologize. But I am making it. It is here on the table. We didn't open your radio. We just took your harness out. And I prepared all the harnesses. So these are the 3 car harnesses for 0708. It's your sub retention, navigation, keep working, your antenna to keep your AM FM. This has power, ground, your main speakers, and your steering wheel controls. This is the AXWC harness. This is your radio harness, and that's it. I'm going to wire it all together. Yeah, the ILX 670 before the S. I did a whole video on this. You can find it on our channel. W670 has resistive. All Sonys have resistive. Almost all Amazon have resistive. And then Boss Elite, Boss BE7 ACPX have resistive, or steering wheel control learning. I'm not sure what to call it. It's an American thing because like the pioneers overseas have resistive steering wheel control learning. I don't know about the Kenwoods, but like if you ever watch any YouTube from people overseas in Europe, they will do installs without any AXWC or other pieces like that because those companies aren't as present in those markets. So that solution won't even exist. All right, guys, you guys have a good night. I will see y'all tomorrow at 1 o'clock Eastern time.